This is Nightline and I'm Adrian Seet. News making the headlines. France unrest, Malaysian embassy issues travel advisory. An MOT to review road tax structure for EVs. Thanks for joining us. The Malaysian embassy in Paris has issued a travel advisory following the unrest occurring in the suburbs of Paris, its nearby areas and other major cities in France. In a post on the embassy's official social media page, Malaysians in France have been advised to avoid gatherings and areas under police control that have the potential to turn violent. The statement said that further curfew measures have been enforced in several cities following the riot. As a safety precaution, Malaysian citizens in France are advised to inform their family and friends of their whereabouts. Malaysians in France are also advised to stay alert to changes in public transportation schedules. The riot started when a police officer shot dead an Algerian teenager, Nahel, during a traffic stop in the Paris suburb of Nanterre earlier this week. Activists believe Nahel's race was a factor in his killing, unraveling deep-rooted tensions over police discrimination against minoritized communities in France. In the meantime, rioting raged in cities around France for the fourth consecutive night. At least 1,311 people have been arrested as rioters continue to set cars and buildings ablaze. Around 45,000 police officers were fanned out across the country, as riots have also spread from Paris to Marseille, Lyon and many larger cities. Firefighters in Nanterre were struggling to extinguish blazes set by protesters that left scorched remains of cars strewn across the streets. Looters in Marseille also broke into a gun shop and made off with weapons. However, no ammunition was stolen. President Emmanuel Macron has also postponed his scheduled visit to Germany as a result of the unrest. The Transport Ministry is currently reviewing the road tax rate structure for electric vehicles, EVs. This is aimed at making the road tax for EVs cheaper than internal combustion engine or ICE vehicles, besides encouraging more people to use EVs. The Transport Ministry, MOT, as part of the Special EV Task Force chaired by Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Dato Sri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz, who had presented a proposal on how to support the EV industry at a recent meeting held a few days ago. Amongst the measures to be taken by the MOT is reviewing the road tax structure for EVs. The road tax for EVs is currently free until the end of 2025, but MOT noted the feedback from EV users who wanted to know the road tax rates for EVs after that period. The ministry also said that the road tax rates for EVs will be finalized this year. At the same time, MOT is planning to introduce special registration numbers for EVs, mainly to differentiate them from conventional vehicles for safety purposes. This is because in case of accidents, the way EVs should be handled is different from other vehicles. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, will probe claims of the alleged culture of corruption by immigration officers in handling foreign travellers at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Its Chief Commissioner, Tan Sri Azambaki, said they will gather information from all the parties involved and investigate the matter accordingly. Tan Sri Azam in a statement said the MACC would launch a probe into the allegations of corruption at the airport, as claimed by Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Dato Sri Tiong King Sing. He also urged the public to not sensationalize or speculate on the issue. On Friday, a portal reported that the commotion occurred at KLIA when a minister allegedly barged into the International Arrival Hall to supposedly rescue a Chinese national who was detained by immigration officers upon entering Malaysia. Dato Sri Tiong later confirmed that he was the minister involved, but denied that he was there to demand that the authorities release the female Chinese traveller. He claimed that there was a culture of corruption within the Immigration Department's handling of arrivals of foreign visitors at KLIA. Immigration Director General Dato Ruslin Juso on Friday said the department would investigate the incident. Meanwhile, the Home Ministry said it is waiting for the full report on the incident at KLIA before deciding on the next course of action. Its Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said he is waiting for the full report on the matter and will review the report and assess the situation before determining the appropriate course of action. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Tiong said he will bring the matter to the attention of the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, so that a detailed investigation can be carried out on the mastermind responsible for spreading the viral video. He also claimed that the incident had been filmed by immigration personnel. Datuk Sri Tiong, in a 4-minute and 29-second video posted on his Facebook page, claimed that the spread of the video was a deliberate act to cover up corruption that took place at the arrival hall.
MC kata cek keluar, siapa dia? Mesti mau ambil ini pegawai on the task. Why they do that? Kenapa dia buat itu berita tidak tentu? Buat ini tuduhan-tuduhan, buat fitnah. Pasal dia mau selamatkan dia punya immigration, ada segelintir dia punya pegawai sendiri.
Commenting further on the incident, the Bintulu Member of Parliament claimed that a Chinese woman who was detained had admitted that there was a high-ranking official who asked her for payment for release. He said that the culprit who recorded and spread the video should be investigated immediately for spreading false news. The Tourism and Arts and Culture Minister had earlier admitted to being at the centre of the commotion at the airport recently. However, he denied that he was attempting to help secure the release of the foreigner. Barisan Nasional is expected to contest 45% of the 245 seats up for grabs in the upcoming 6 state elections, while the remaining seats will be contested by Pakatan Harapan. Its chairman, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, said the decision was made based on the seats won by the two coalitions during the previous general election. Speaking to reporters at a sacrificial event in Pantai Penunjuk in Kemaman, Terengganu, Datuk Sri Zahid said that the final decision will be made by him and Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim soon, adding that a final round of discussions is expected to be held within the coming week. With the expected breakdown, the Deputy Prime Minister said BN would contest more than 100 seats in the coming 6 state elections.
45% untuk Barisan Nasional dan 55% untuk PH. Ini berdasarkan kepada kursi yang telah mereka sedia ada, yang mereka menangi. Maka itu sebabnya peratusan itu lebih kepada parti-parti di dalam komponen PH.
Datuk Sri Zahid said BN and PH have also been able to resolve overlapping seats. He said the Political Bureau has decided that for each state constituency, the State Liaison Committee will suggest at least 3 candidates, and that evaluation and selection of the candidates would be based on qualities such as commitment, integrity, capability, and winnability. He explained that after being shortlisted, a health screening will be carried out on the candidates to determine that each candidate is clean in terms of appearance, physicality, and has a good level of health. Meanwhile, in his speech at the event, Datuk Sri Zahid called on voters to make a wise choice in the upcoming state elections and not fall for the opposition's political ploy. The Deputy Prime Minister said, unlike the opposition, BN was more focused on developments for the well-being of the people.
Penipuan, muslihat-muslihat yang telah dilakukan di pelbagai-bagai. Mereka menggunakan ayat Quran, mereka menggunakan hadis, ayat Quran yang sama, hadis yang sama, terjemahan yang sama, tetapi tafsiran berbeza-beza mengikut masa.
Datuk Sri Zahid also urged BN to focus more on the younger voters, who have been described as being of utmost importance for the elections as they account for almost 50% of the total electorate. This is in line with the approach taken by the unity government, led by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, who has always paid special attention to their concerns and has always strived to listen to the voice of the youth. An electoral watchdog has slammed Pakatan National Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin for promising members of his coalition positions of heads of government-linked companies, GLCs, should the coalition win in the upcoming state elections. The Coalition for Clean and Fair Elections, or Bersih 2.0, said Tan Sri Muhyiddin's promise was an affront to good governance and an abuse of power. Bersih 2.0 said GLCs are companies that exist to safeguard and increase public wealth and are not for the use by political parties as automated teller machines by putting party loyalists on the state's payroll. It said Tan Sri Muhyiddin's remarks were a form of political patronage, which had unfortunately become part of the country's political culture. In an interview with a web portal last week, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said PN was ready to form the government in 6 states and had even agreed on how their administrative posts will be allocated amongst its component parties. These include the posts of Menteri Besars, or Chief Ministers, State Exco members, Head of State GLCs, local councillors and even Village Security and Development Committee chiefs. Bersih also maintained its stand that no elected representative should be appointed to GLCs as their primary responsibility is to their voters and to serve as lawmakers, not as company directors. It added that voters must vote wisely in the upcoming state elections to ensure that parties or candidates committed to institutional reforms to end corruption are elected so that our country can be freed from the scourge of political patronage and corruption. The hashtag Baca Berita Challenge TV3 held in conjunction with TV3's 39th anniversary culminated in a grand finale on Saturday with 10 winners showcasing their skills on stage. In addition to receiving a cash prize of 300 ringgit, participants were also given the opportunity to experience reading the news in the studio. After a competition spanning 23 days, beginning June 1st, the TV3 Baca Berita Challenge concluded on June 23rd with almost 500 official entries. For the winners, the experience of delivering the news in the studio offered them a fresh perspective on the broadcasting process.
Ini merupakan satu pengalaman yang tidak boleh dibeli dengan wang kertas. TV3 haruslah membuat peraduan ini setiap tahun kerana Malaysia ada ramai yang berbakat.
The prizes were presented by Media Prima Television Network's Executive Advisor of News and Current Affairs, Jasbaan Singh Partap Singh. The Baca Berita Challenge TV3 hashtag received encouraging response on various social media platforms, where celebrities and even well-known influencers from around the country also join in on the fun. At least 25 dead in India bus crash. This and more from the foreign front when Nightline returns. Welcome back. The Samaritans of Singapore, SOS, on Saturday said suicides in the country rose nearly 26% last year, their highest level in more than 2 decades, reflecting the unseen mental distress in the city-state. According to SOS Chief Executive Gaspar Tan, a total of 476 suicides were reported in 2022, with the suicides rates amongst both young and the elderly particularly concerning. Suicide has remained the leading cause of death for youths aged 10 to 29 for the fourth consecutive year, with a total of 125 individuals from that age bracket taking their own lives in 2022, up 11.6% the previous year. The number of people aged 70 to 79 who took their own lives surged to 48 last year, a 60% increase from 2021. Tan added that suicide was a complex issue, influenced by various factors including mental health challenges, social pressures, and economic uncertainties. The Indonesian police have arrested 642 suspects charged with human trafficking during a crackdown within the month of June. Director General of Crimes at the National Police Criminal Investigation Agency, Brigadier General Juhandani Rahan Jopuro, said that until June 28th, police had uncovered 553 human trafficking cases involving as many as 642 suspects. Police have also rescued 1,826 victims during the ongoing crackdown on people smuggling syndicates from June the 5th to the 27th. The Anti-People Smuggling Task Force was set up following directives from President Joko Widodo, who also initiated a regional response to combat people smuggling in Southeast Asia during Indonesia's chairmanship of ASEAN this year. At least 25 people were killed and 8 others injured in western India after a bus crashed and caught fire overnight on an expressway on Saturday. According to authorities, the bus, which was carrying about 30 to 35 people, was travelling to the city of Pune when it hit a pole and overturned after midnight, causing its diesel tank to catch fire. The injured have been admitted to a hospital near the site of the accident in Maharashtra Strait, about 400 kilometers east of India's financial capital Mumbai, while the driver and conductor of the bus were taken into custody for questioning. Officials said an investigation is underway to find the cause of the accident. In Kenya, the death toll from a grisly road crash rose to 52 on Saturday as rescuers worked to clear the wreckage where more victims were feared trapped. The accident occurred at a location near the Rift Valley town of Londiani on Friday, about 200 kilometers northwest of the capital, Nairobi. It was reported that the truck, which was travelling towards Kericho, lost control and rammed into 8 vehicles, several motorcycles and pedestrians. According to the local police commander, the death toll has risen to 52 after 3 more people succumbed to their injuries in hospital. Another 32 people had been seriously injured and rushed to various hospitals. The death toll makes the accident one of the most deadly on Kenya's roads in recent years. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro's political career was in tatters on Friday as Brazil's Federal Electoral Court, TSE, barred the far-right nationalist from public office until 2030 for his conduct during last year's fraud election. 5 out of 7 justices voted to convict the 68-year-old Bolsonaro for abuse of power and misuse of the media over his actions in July 2022. Ahead of the election, when he summoned ambassadors to vent unfounded claims about Brazil's electronic voting system. The ruling renders the 68-year-old ineligible to stand in the next presidential election in 2026, opening the contest for a new leader for Brazil's political right. Bolsonaro, who narrowly lost the October vote to leftist rival Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, is accused of creating a nationwide movement to overturn the result, which culminated in the January 8th invasion of government buildings in Brasilia by thousands of his supporters. Manarino sets Eubanks final in Mallorca. Sports after this breather. Fourth seed Adrian Manarino of France defeated Germany's Yannick Hoffmann in straight sets to claim a spot in the final. The 35-year-old Frenchman needed nearly 2 hours to defeat the German 7-6, 6-4. Hoffmann, who was coming off the back of a couple of resounding wins against Stefano Tsitsipas and Feliciano Lopez, could not produce a similar performance against Manarino. Manarino will face Christopher Eubanks in the match for the title on Sunday. World number 77 Eubanks reached the first ATP Tour final in his career after an epic comeback win against Lloyd Harris. The American had a shaky start, losing the first set 4-6, but the 27-year-old clawed his way back to claim a 6-3, 7-6 victory after a 2-hour and 18 minutes battle. Turning to football, English Premier League side Liverpool are ready to put Dominic Szoboszlai through a medical in the next few days as they put the finishing touches to his $75.8 million transfer, with wages taking the total package through the $126 million barrier for the Merseysiders. According to reports on Friday, Liverpool had agreed to meet the $75.8 million clause in Szoboszlai's RB Leipzig contract, and with Liverpool also committing to a deal worth $189,000 a week for the 22-year-old over 5 years, that deal will be worth a minimum $49 million to the player. Szoboszlai will now travel to the UK to undergo a medical with Liverpool, and if all goes as planned, his signing should be confirmed in days. The Merseysiders have made the addition of new midfielders their top priority this summer after a disappointing 2022-2023 campaign. In the meantime, another EPL side, Chelsea, continued the overhaul of its squad after they sold Ruben Loftus-Cheek to AC Milan on Friday and then signed forward Nicholas Jackson from Villarreal. 22-year-old Jackson joined the club on an 8-year deal after scoring 12 goals for the Spanish La Liga club last season, including 9 in the last 8 games. British media reported the deal to be $40.6 million. Jackson's arrival came shortly after Chelsea confirmed that Loftus-Cheek had completed a permanent move to AC Milan on a 4-year deal for a reported $22.8 million. When we return, 1 killed in van-lorry collision. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Malaysia has been ranked 4th amongst the top 10 countries in the major reduction of forest loss in 2022. This achievement by Malaysia was reported by the World Resources Institute's Global Forest Watch and the University of Maryland on global deforestation. Overall, Malaysia reduced its primary forest loss by 57% as of 2022. The Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change Minister, Nik Ahmad, said his ministry will continue to implement various initiatives, including stricter enforcement of relevant laws, such as the National Forestry Act 1984, to enhance the conservation of forests in the country. He also said that Malaysia welcomed all stakeholders, including the various state governments, the private sector and civil society, to work together with his ministry to strengthen the management of the country's forests. Nik also called on all Malaysians to continue to support efforts by the government to protect forests as one of the nation's most crucial resources to ensure that they could pass it on to the future generation. The northern states in the peninsula, including their waters, are expected to experience strong westerly winds until July the 5th. In a statement on Saturday, the Malaysian Meteorological Department, MACC Malaysia, said the condition may cause thunderstorms, heavy rain and strong winds in the states concerned. It said thunderstorms with heavy rain and strong winds may also occur in Kelantan and Terengganu in the afternoon until early evening. MACC Malaysia also issued a warning of strong winds and rough seas for Phuket waters and the northern Straits of Malacca. The public is advised to visit the MACC Malaysia website and its official social media pages or download the My Cuaca application for up-to-date and authentic information. A man was killed while two of his companions were seriously injured after the van they were travelling in collided with an overturned courier lorry at the East Coast Highway 2 or LPT2 near Bukit Besi in Terengganu on Saturday. In the 6:20 a.m. incident, the victim, 50-year-old He Kok Kiang from Masai, Johor, succumbed to his severe injuries to multiple parts of his body. His 42-year-old companion suffered injuries to his hands, while the van's driver, a Bangladeshi man, sustained fractures in both legs. Dungun District Police Chief Superintendent Baharuddin Abdullah said that during the incident, a lorry travelling from Batu Pahat, Johor to Terengganu, carrying the courier goods, suddenly lost control and overturned across the highway. At the same time, a Toyota Hiace van carrying the victim and two others was on its way to Kelantan, and the van failed to avoid the collision and crashed into the overturned lorry. The victim's body was taken to the Dungun Hospital for post-mortem, while all the injured victims were taken to Hulu Terengganu Hospital for treatment. The case is being investigated under the Road Transport Act 1987. As we conclude Nightline this time around, let's take a look at Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama's inflatable large-scale sculptures that are shown together for the first time in a new exhibition in Manchester, England. The major exhibition, entitled You, Me and the Balloons, features sculptures created over the past 3 decades, including her famed tendril landscapes, polka dot spheres and giant dolls, many of which are over 10 meters tall. I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for tuning in and have a great weekend.